Hello everybody, my name is Roy Johnson, and welcome to a very special video today. I am here today to talk about my Draft League analysis. Now, I've just recently gotten into Pokemon Draft League, which is a special form of competitive Pokemon, where basically, maybe a group of 14 people draft specific Pokemon for their teams, around 10 to 12 really good Pokemon for their specific teams. And the special thing about this is that once you specifically draft a Pokemon, no one else is allowed to use it. So that makes the game a whole lot more interesting, in my opinion. Luckily, once I got into Pokemon Draft League, I found a Draft League very quickly. This is my first ever Draft League. I am now part of the Duosion Draft League, the DDL. My team is the New York Toxicroaks, and I'm here today to tell you how my draft went. Specifically, the 11 Mons that I managed to draft on my team. Before I begin, let me give a special thanks to Gwen for helping out with the draft. They were kind of like an assistant coach for the DDL. They helped a bunch of people in the draft get the best possible teams, including myself. So I'd like to thank them personally for helping out. But without further ado, let's get into my draft. The first Mon in my draft is Dragapult, and talk about a good starting Mon. The only reason I got a Mon this good, as my first slot, was because I was incredibly lucky having the second pick of the draft. So I was pretty much guaranteed an amazing Mon. It's not only one of the best Mons in the game, this Mon has 19 points, which is the highest amount of points a Mon can be given. So this was a very, very expensive, but also very powerful Pokemon on the table, and I grabbed it right away. It has incredible speed, it has incredible attack, it's one of the fastest Mons in the game. It has an array of incredible moves like Draco Meteor, Dragon Darts, and Hex. Like I said, I had a very lucky position. I was the second pick in the draft, so I was pretty much guaranteed a good Mon, and Dragapult is a good Mon. I'm looking forward to using this powerful beast on my team. Next up is King Gambit. Now, this Mon was so good, I was almost tempted to pick it first. That's just how good it is. And I was kind of worried that someone else would snipe the pick before I got the chance to use it. To take it for myself, basically. Now, if you don't know how this draft league works, this is a snake order draft. So, while I was number 2 on the way starting, once it came back to me, there was like 24 people between my first pick and my second pick. Because it went 1 to 14 and then 14 to 1. 24 picks? And I was not necessarily guaranteed to get King Gambit, but luckily I did get it, and I'm glad because it's such a good mod. Incredible mod with incredible attack. It has incredible abilities, especially Supreme Overlord, although I will say Defiant is also a really great ability. It's got some great moves in Kowtow Cleave, Iron Head, and Sucker Punch for priority, which will be very important because the speed is not great, but if it gets a chance to Sucker Punch you, it can take you down. It can take you down. This is a potential sweeper on my team. It's one of my favorite Mons to use in Showdown. Supreme Overlord is such a good ability. It's a very good Revenger for my team, and it's so good in general. Dragon, it works well in creating a Dragon Steel Fairy core. All we need is the Fairy type. And with that said, let's move on and talk about that. Number 3 is Hatterene. Psychic Fairy, really great typing. It doesn't really have that many weaknesses for a Psychic Fairy. I think it's like Bug, maybe Ghost. That's already good enough as it is. And with this trio, I have a very strong Dragon Fairy Steel core, but the main reason I was interested in Hatterene over any other fairy Pokemon was its ability of Magic Bounce. And as someone who loves to set up hazards, having a Mon that is good at deflecting hazards is really good. It's almost as good as a Rapid Spinner on my team. So if I use it properly, I can basically guarantee that no one else is setting hazards on my team. So that's gonna be fun to use. And no one else really drafted a Magic Bouncer, so I'm pretty much the sole person that's using Magic Bounce on my team in this draft league. So that'll be interesting. It's got some great special attack. Even beyond that, it can set up screens. And overall, this is going to be a very tough Mon to kill. It has so much potential of setting up screens, dealing with Magic Bounce, so it avoids hazards. And just overall being a very strong Fairy Psychic type, which is great typing, not that many weaknesses. So yeah, this is going to be a beast on my team, and I'm looking forward to using it. Next up, we have Keldeo. Now, I originally wanted Infernape on my team. I thought it would be a very strong fire type, very strong fighting type. It has a lot of versatility to it, but unfortunately that Mon got sniped before I got the chance to grab it. It is one of my favorite Mons, so that was kind of a bummer. But instead, I ended up finding a suitable replacement in Keldeo, which in many ways is better, because it has better stats, and it's also a legendary, so it's got good stuff going there. Has a very powerful special attack and access to some good stab moves and flip turn for momentum. Obviously, while part of me kind of prefers having Infernape on my team, Keldeo's not bad at all, and I'm really looking forward to using it on my team. I think it's gonna dish out the hits, so I'm looking forward to that. Number 5 pick is Clodsire. Now, this Mon was very much essential to the team. If I did not get this Mon, I was going to be super bummed out. I've used this Mon so many times in Showdown. I think it's a very versatile Mon on the team. It's a hazard setter, it's a very bulky Pokemon to take down, and it's a grounded poison. So no one's going to be setting up Toxic Spikes while this thing is on my team. It has also an array of great abilities, including Water Absorb, a ground type that doesn't tank, that doesn't get hit by water moves, that's very useful, and Unaware as well. Unaware is a really good ability that very much Unaware's stats and all that stuff. So that's awesome. While I'm probably not going to be using this thing much for attacking, I still think it's going to be doing a lot of good for my team. So obviously hazards, it's going to be a very bulky wall. It doesn't have that many weaknesses. There are some weaknesses, but I think overall it's going to be a very good wall on my team. And there's a lot of uses for Clodsire, and I'm really glad I got the chance to use it. Because, yeah, grounded poison, bulky wall, hazard setter, great Mon, glad to use it. I've had a lot of experience using Clodsire in Showdown, so I'm glad I got to pick it on my team. Number 6 pick is Tornadus Therian. Now, you might have noticed from the Pokemon I've picked so far, with the exception of Keldeo, I have a very big ground weakness, and that is going to be a problem on my team, so having a ground immunity like Tornadus Therian is going to be very good. It's also the second fastest Mon on the team. Obviously Dragapult's the fastest, but this also has incredible speed as well. Admittedly, I was considering other picks like Rotom Heat and Thundurus Therian. I really wanted like an electric Volt Absorb Mon that's also flying, that can also has a ground immunity, because that'd be awesome. I was even tempted to get Kilowattrel, but overall, I'm glad I picked something like Tornadus Therian, because it can dish out hits, and it's also super fast. It is it's a beast, potentially, and also gets rid of my ground immunity. It gives me a great, strong ground immunity, which is always great. It also has great attack and special attack stats as well. So, but mainly, I'm picking this as a ground immunity, so as a ground immunity, I think it does its job really well, and I'm looking forward to using Tornadus Therian on my team. Number 7 is Farigiraf. Honestly, I think this Mon is undervalued at 5 points. Because of how the draft is ordered, I basically almost get 2 picks back to back. There's only like one person between me when it gets back to me, but then afterwards there's like 24 people between drafts. So I get one person between me on one end, and 24 picks on the other hand. So this pick was very important. I had to choose between either a good Terra Captain or a Wish Mon. And Wish would really help assist my team. Mons like Hatterene and Kingambit truly benefit from having Wish. So I decided a Wish Mon would be harder to replace than a Terra Captain. So I ended up going with Farigiraf as that Wish Mon. And it's also a really good Wish Mon. It's also a Wish Mon that can set up screens. It has great HP and special attack. It also has a potential grass immunity in the ability Sap Sipper. But speaking of abilities, there's also Cudchew, which allows me to basically eat a berry over and over again at every turn, which would be super helpful. But not only that, it's just a really great typing, honestly. It's a normal type that takes neutral fighting damage, and it's a psychic type that is immune to ghost type attacks. So that's really good right there. Honestly, I think 5 points is kind of low for this Mon. I think Farigiraf is actually pretty great. And having Wish on the team will do wonders for Mons like Hatterene and Kingambit. So I'm really glad I managed to snag Farigiraf. I think it will do wonders for my team. Next up on the list is Toxicroak, which is going to be my first Terra Captain. Its Terras are Fighting, Dark, and Electric. I got my mascot. That's awesome. My team is the New York Toxicroaks, and I got a Toxicroak. And I think Toxicroak is very good. It has great attack, and it can deal out a lot of damage. It has a pretty decent speed, I will say. But overall, it's a very good offensive Terra Captain. And that's what I kind of wanted. I wanted a strong offensive Terra Captain and a strong defensive Terra Captain. So Toxicroak is obviously the strong offensive Terra Captain. It has fighting as stab, because one of the Terras has to be a stab of the mon itself. Dark is really good for negating its 4 times psychic weakness, so that'll be great. And Electric makes it a very good counter for bulky waters. Now that's kind of a weakness of my team. I don't really have a strong counter for bulky waters. The next spawn on the list could work as one, but I don't have like an electric type or a strong grass type that can deal that kind of damage. So having Terra Electric Toxicroak on my team with Terra Blast, or if I don't run Terra Blast on it, it also learns Thunder Punch, so that could be good. Overall, I think it makes a very good offensive option on my team. Toxicroak is obviously one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and I'm glad I'm using it in this draft league. I think overall it makes a very strong offensive Terra Captain. Next up is Appleton. This is my defensive Terra Captain. Its Terras are Grass, Fairy, and Steel. It's not just a great defensive Terra Captain, it's also just a great defensive mon in general. It is super bulky. It is a Grass Dragon type with Thick Fat, which is just a great combination, so it can tank fire hits, and even though it's still weak to ice hits, it takes a lot less damage from ice hits. It's now a 2 times weakness instead of a 4 times weakness. But as for stab, I think Dragon Bolt's gonna be my main dragon type, so I went for Grass for Appleton because I kind of needed more of a Grass mon than a Dragon mon as its stab Terra. And overall, I like the Grass stab it has. It has Apple, I think Apple Acid or Apple Armor, one of those. And it has Giga Drain, so that's good. Fairy helps it deal with its major dragon weakness, and Steel is just a great defensive typing in general, so having it be Terra Steel does wonders for Appleton. Plus, Steel Terra with Thick Fat, so it doesn't take much of fire hits. That's great. That's great right there. I think Appleton is just a nice, thick Pokemon. It could tank, not just physically, but it could tank a lot of hits. It's a very underrated mon. I have used Appleton in Showdown before. It is great stuff. And I think Appleton's going to be very good at tanking a lot of hits. Whether it's Terra or not, it will be tanking a lot of hits. So I'm looking forward to using Appleton for this purpose. Number 10 is Cryogonal. Its Terras are Ice, Ghost, and Steel. I just need a Rapid Spinner on my team, and I wanted Colossal on my team instead of Cryogonal as the Rapid Spinner, because it would have been perfect for my team. It's a strong fire type, it's a Rapid Spinner, it's cheap on points at 5. It would have made a great Rapid Spin Terra Captain. It has great abilities in Steam Engine, Flame Body, and Flash Fire, but I couldn't get Colossal. I tried during Grace Period to trade for Colossal, but the guy who had Colossal was not budging. So you know what? Fair enough. Colossal's a great Pokemon. I got Cryogonal, who is decent. Who's a decent Rapid Spinner. Not the best. Its defenses are awful. Any physical attack is gonna send that thing it's gonna kill it. But it has decent speed and has decent special defense, so that's something. Anyway, Ice is obviously its Terra stat because it's a pure Ice type, so that's the only stat I could give it. Ghost is not only makes it a good Rapid Spinner, but also a Rapid Spin blocker, so no one else can use Rapid Spin as long as it's Terra Ghost. And Steel gives it a good defensive typing, so hopefully that'll work. I was kind of iffy on Steel, because Steel doesn't help with its fire weakness or its fighting weakness. But yeah, is Cryogonal the best Rapid Spinner in the game? No, but I think it's good enough. That said, if I see an opportunity to get rid of this thing, I probably will, I'll be honest. I'm not too attached to Cryogonal compared to some other Pokemon on my team, so if I do end up maybe giving Cryogonal away, I probably wouldn't be too bummed. But with that being said, it's time for my final drafted Pokemon, and that is Hisuian Arcanine. Now, at this point in the draft, I had 13 points left, and I spent all of it on a good offensive fire type. Now, for the love of God, for some reason, the draft gods did not want me to have a fire type. All the fire type Pokemon I was interested in just kept getting stolen by other players. Infernape, Heat Rotom, Moltres, Colossal, all of them got sniped. So, Hisuian Arcanine was kind of the best option I have. Now, part of me doesn't want to use Arcanine just because of how many points it has, and I thought, maybe with the points I could have saved at 13, I could get some more Mons, a good strong fire type, but also some other Mons as well. That said, Fire Rock is a very good offensive typing, and Harkanine's not a bad Pokemon, I will say. It's got great attack, it's got good speed, but it also has 4 times weaknesses of ground and water, and obviously I have a major ground weakness as is, and while I do have Cryogonal with Levitate and Tornadus Therian as ground immunities on my team, it's still not good having a 4 times ground weakness. That being said, Harkaniine is not a bad Mon. I think it does have potential to deal a lot of damage with its great attack and great speed. It's not bad. But if I see an opportunity to drop this Mon and maybe save the points for some other Mons that might be useful on my team, I might do that. We'll see. We'll see though. But we'll see. But with that being said, that is my draft team, and with the exception of the last 2 picks, I'm really satisfied with the team overall. I love a lot of the Pokemon on this team. I got the favorites that I really wanted on the team: Dragapult, Kingambit, Hatterene, Clodsire. I got Toxicroak and Appleton as my Terra Captains, which I really wanted. So really, I got a lot of Mons that I'm very satisfied with. Is there better versions of this team? Yes. It's definitely not the best version of this possible team I could have had, but I still think it's one of the best draft leagues in the DDL. I honestly see a lot of potential with this team. I could maybe make it with playoffs to this team. Maybe even finals, if I'm being cocky. Maybe I'm being cocky. I think this team could make it to playoffs. If I use it properly, and if I, don't fuck up, I see this team going to playoffs, at least. But we'll just have to see how the battles go. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will probably be making more Draft League content in the future, especially talking about the battles in my Draft League. So stay tuned and check them out when you get the chance. But with that being said, thank you for watching this video. This is Roy Johnson, signing out. And adios muchachos. Have a fantastic day, goodbye, and see ya.